There is a rare type of person walking among us. A type of person you cannot guilt, cannot pressure, cannot intimidate, cannot deceive. A type of person who does not react the way you expect, who sees through intentions you haven't even spoken yet, who cannot be controlled, even by the most skilled manipulator. These people are not cold, they are not cruel, but they are untouchable. They have mastered a psychological strength so uncommon that it terrifies everyone who tries to influence them. You've met these people before, the ones who stay calm when others explode, who walk away when others beg, who choose themselves instead of approval, who enforce boundaries without raising their voice. You can't move them. You can't shake them. You can't get inside their mind. Not because they're heartless, but because they have learned the truth. Manipulation works only on the untrained, and they have trained their mind to be unbreakable. Today, I'm going to take you deep inside the psychology of these people, the ones who cannot be manipulated, and show you how to become one of them. Drop this in the comments before we continue. My mind is my power. Chapter 1. They react to nothing automatically. Manipulators live off your emotional reflexes. They push your buttons hoping you will respond instantly. They insult you to make you angry. They praise you to make you soft. They ignore you to make you insecure. They guilt you to make you comply. Most people react immediately, and that reaction gives the manipulator control. But the unmanipulable person has mastered something called emotional delay. It means they create a space, a pause, between what happens and how they choose to respond. Someone insults them? They don't get angry, they get information. Someone praises them excessively. They don't melt, they get suspicious. Someone pressures them? They don't panic, they stay still. This ability destroys manipulation because manipulation needs your reaction. And these people don't react, they evaluate. Their emotions are not buttons you can push, they're levers they control internally. This calmness is not natural. It is built through betrayal, disappointment, self-awareness, emotional discipline. And once built, it makes the person untouchable. Drop this affirmation. I don't react. I choose. Chapter 2. They do not need your approval. Here is a hard truth. The easiest people to manipulate are the ones who need to be liked. Manipulators know this, so they use compliments, silent treatment, distancing, validation withholding to control your behavior. But the unmanipulable person doesn't need your approval at all. They don't rise when praised. They don't fall when criticized. They don't chase affection. They don't collapse under disapproval. Why? Because their self-worth is internally sourced.
They like themselves. They trust themselves. They validate themselves. You can't control someone who doesn't require anything from you emotionally. Machiavelli said it perfectly. He who depends on another becomes their servant. These people depend on no one for identity, or validation. That's why they are free. Chapter 3. They reveal nothing you can use against them. Most people overshare. They expose their fears, their insecurities, their triggers, their past failures, their emotional wounds. All of this becomes ammunition for manipulators. But the psychologically strong person shares selectively. They speak, but never reveal weakness. They communicate, but never expose vulnerability. They tell stories, but never open psychological doors. They understand a principle that Machiavellian strategists mastered. Power is not in what you reveal. Power is in what others cannot figure out. Mystery protects them. Predictability endangers you. And so they live in controlled disclosure. They may talk, but they never bleed. They may share, but they never hand you a weapon. A manipulator cannot control someone whose internal world is locked behind a door with no key. Drop this affirmation. I reveal nothing that weakens me. Chapter 4. They observe everything and miss nothing. Manipulators survive by staying one step ahead. But these individuals stay 10 steps ahead. They are master observers. They notice tone changes, micro-expressions, inconsistencies, motives behind actions, emotional patterns, hidden agendas. They listen more than they speak. They watch more than they reveal. They study people quietly, patiently, strategically. By the time someone attempts manipulation, they've already mapped out the person's insecurities, the person's behavioral tendencies, the person's tactics, the person's intention. This ability comes from a simple truth. If you understand human nature deeply, you become immune to those who misuse it. Manipulators rely on your blindness. But these people are not blind. They see the game before the first move is even made. Chapter 5. They never chase anyone. Manipulation thrives in pursuit.
behavior to continue. When someone has firm boundaries enforced And this calmness creates fear, because people can handle anger, they can handle sadness, they can handle happiness. But calmness? Calmness is unreadable. Calmness is dangerous. Calmness makes them wonder, what does he know? What is she planning? Why isn't he reacting? Calmness forces the enemy to attack shadows instead of certainty. Drop this affirmation. My calm is my power. Chapter 11. The boundary that cannot be broken. Most people think boundaries are words, lines spoken out loud, rules repeated again and again. But psychologically powerful people understand one thing. A boundary is not what you say. A boundary is what you enforce. When a manipulator pushes your limits and you do nothing, you just train them to push harder. When someone disrespects you and you stay silent, you just taught them you accept disrespect. Boundaries are not announcements. Boundaries are consequences. The moment someone crosses the line, you pull back. You cut access. You remove availability. You change the dynamic instantly. No warning, no speech, no emotional outburst, just action. This terrifies manipulators because they rely on emotional reactions, not consequences. Machiavelli said, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Fear doesn't mean aggression. It means people fear losing access to you. That's the boundary they never cross. Drop this affirmation. My boundaries are non-negotiable. Chapter 12. The rare skill of knowing when to walk away. There is a moment in every psychological battle where you must decide, stay or walk away. Weak people stay too long. They hope things will change. They believe they can fix someone. They fear losing the relationship. Powerful people walk away the moment they see the truth. This person cannot be trusted. This situation cannot be repaired. This connection is costing me my peace. Walking away is the ultimate power move because you deny the manipulator control. You deny them attention. You deny them psychological access. People who cannot be manipulated understand that distance is clarity, and clarity is power. Walking away protects your mind more than arguing ever will. Drop this affirmation. I walk away from what weakens me. Chapter 13. Why they never explain themselves. People who cannot be manipulated have one rule. They never explain themselves to people who don't deserve explanations. Manipulators thrive on explanations because explanations give them information. Information gives them leverage. Leverage gives them control. Every time you explain yourself, justify your actions, or defend your decisions, you are giving them the map of how to control you. But powerful people simply say, "No, I won't. That doesn't work for me." No explanation, no apology, no emotional breakdown. Manipulators panic when you refuse to explain because they lose their psychological grip. Machiavelli said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, but the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." When you stop explaining, you stop giving people access to your inner world. Drop this affirmation. My decisions need no approval. Chapter 14.
How they use time as a defense. Manipulators want fast reactions, fast decisions, fast emotions. Why? Because speed removes clarity. But powerful people slow everything down. When pressured, they say, "I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. Not now." Time reveals manipulation. Time exposes lies. Time destroys emotional pressure. When you slow down, you break their urgency. You reclaim control. You force them into your timeline. Manipulators hate people who take their time because you cannot rush someone who sees the bigger picture. You cannot pressure someone who understands patience. You cannot bend someone who refuses to be moved quickly. Time protects the mind from impulsive traps. Drop this affirmation: I move on my own time. Chapter 15. They refuse to reward bad behavior. Here's a psychological truth almost no one understands. Whatever you reward will repeat. If you reward disrespect with kindness, you'll receive more disrespect. If you reward inconsistency with patience, you'll receive more inconsistency. If you reward selfishness with loyalty, you'll receive more selfishness. Manipulators depend on one thing: you rewarding their bad behavior with continued access. But powerful, unmanipulatable people do the opposite. They reward good behavior. They punish disrespect with distance. They cut off access the moment someone devalues their worth. This is not cruelty. This is psychological self-defense. Because nothing teaches a person faster than consequences they cannot ignore. Machiavelli said, "Men respond well to benefits, but even better to consequences." People who cannot be manipulated do not negotiate with disrespect. Drop this affirmation: I never reward what hurts me. Chapter 16. They never compete for attention. Manipulators try to trap you by making you fight for their approval. They give attention, then take it away. They create doubt, then offer reassurance. They treat affection like a currency they control. But the people who cannot be manipulated, they don't compete. They don't chase. They don't beg. Why? Because they know a fundamental truth. Anyone who makes you compete for their attention is already manipulating you. Real strength is walking away from the competition entirely. People who command respect don't fight for a spot in someone's life. They become the kind of person others fight to keep. And when you do that, the manipulation collapses. The moment you stop chasing is the moment they lose power. Drop this affirmation: I never compete for attention. Chapter 17. They use detachment as a superpower. There is a myth that emotionally strong people don't feel anything. Wrong. They feel everything. They just don't let emotions control their decisions. They practice detachment, a skill that makes manipulation impossible. Detachment means you care,
but not at the cost of your self-respect. You love, but not at the cost of your boundaries. You give, but not at the cost of your growth. Manipulators hate detached people because you cannot guilt-trip them. You cannot shame them. You cannot. They don't justify their past. They don't explain their worth. They don't defend their existence.
feel confident. They don't need approval to feel worthy. Some people command respect without asking, while others beg for basic decency. You understand why some people rise while others crumble. And now that you understand these rules, you can never go back. You can no longer pretend you don't know the truth. You can no longer tolerate what you once tolerated. You can no longer stay silent where you once stayed silent. You can no longer shrink where you once shrank. You have stepped into awareness. And awareness is the first stage of power. The new you. From this day forward, you will not be manipulated by guilt. You will not be controlled by approval. You will not be shaped by fear. You will not be weakened by attachment. You will not be predictable. You will not over-explain. You will not break your boundaries. You will not beg for respect. You will move differently, walk differently, speak differently, think differently. You will become someone people cannot read and cannot control. A person who is respected automatically. A person who is feared silently. A person who is admired from a distance. A person who holds power without lifting a finger. The kind of person Machiavelli studied. The kind of person history remembers. The kind of person manipulators avoid. The kind of person you were meant to be all along. Final message to the viewer. Listen closely. The world is full of people trying to shape you, trying to soften you, trying to bend you, trying to guilt you, trying to control you. But today, you learned the truth.
No one can control a mind that controls itself. And if you take these lessons seriously, your relationships will change. Your confidence will change. Your presence will change. Your entire life will change. Not in months, not in years, but immediately. Because the moment you stop being manipulated, you stop being small. And the moment you stop being small, your real power finally shows. The final affirmation. Drop this in the comments and claim it for yourself. I cannot be manipulated. I control my mind. I control my power. I control my life. Use this exactly as is in your video. If this opened your eyes, if this made you stronger, if this made you see people differently, then don't just scroll away. Subscribe to Mind Cipher, because this is your new home. This is where you evolve. This is where the weak version of you dies and the powerful version is born.